mentioned, oh, go ahead.
I wanted to know what type of editing process did you use? Like Sean tells us to read our papers backwards so that it's out of order, so it's easier to catch mistakes. What type of editing did you use?
I like that idea. I've never tried that. I'll have to now. What I do is read it out loud for sure. I read it out loud a few times because I catch a lot when I'm reading it out loud that I don't catch when I'm reading in my head. And I usually do go in order. I actually really like the idea of going backwards. But I will also record. If there's a section that I think doesn't feel right, I don't know why, I'll record it and listen to it, and that helps a lot too.
The teachers in the room are feeling very vindicated right now. I can tell by the looks on their faces. Didn't just say that yesterday. Yeah. You mentioned that you did this project with your students and that they were writing too, and they set their own goals and you helped them set goals. Can you talk about what came of their projects?
Absolutely. My kids wrote, they each wrote a short story that were all interconnected by a common character, which was a mouse, who was also in my book, because we sat down to write on the first day of NaNoWriMo, and a mouse started across the floor under our feet. So they wrote a series of stories that were separate but interconnected by the presence of this mouse. And we asked a publisher to come in. He is a publisher who runs a small press to print cookbooks and books for fundraisers. He prints them through a print-on-demand press just for fun. He's also my dad. We had him come in, and he ran a publishing. He had the kids pitch their novel to him as a project that he was considering for publication. He was very formal with the kids. They were very formal to him. They spent a week or two preparing this presentation that they would give to the publisher when it came. And he agreed to publish their book and had it printed and made to look very professional, which they loved. But that wasn't enough for us because we didn't want to let go of the project after that. It was the most fun we had had all year. So the kids then compiled their story into one, and they wrote a play about it based on this book, and we presented it at the public library, which was just fantastic. The kids wrote the script. There was a director. There was a sign language interpreter, all kids from my class, and there was, in particular, I think everybody accomplished something wonderful during that project, and most of the kids ended up doubling their word goals. But for me, the true payoff for that project was the fact that one of our kids who was nonverbal acted out that play in mime and was able to show us that she understood that play, that she was interested in it, she totally got it, and was just, she made it her own, and it was just, I think it still is one of the best moments that I've had teaching, seeing her act out that play.
And you said that her mother, tell what you said.
Yeah, her mother even said that she hadn't seen that level of theatrics and interest from her in a while, so it was really special.
Other questions? Okay.
Have you repeated this project in another class?
Yeah, I love that too. I have, this was my second year teaching the project. The first year that I taught the project, we also had the books bound, and I wrote alongside them but did not end up finishing. And that was a younger group of kids. Then I taught it this year and again the year after. Now I didn't have kids this year to novel with, so I borrowed some kids from the library, and we're about to start the project too. So I like to teach this project. It really takes a class that can be fairly scattered and gives it a sense of cohesion and purpose, and it lasts all year. I love it.
The young man in the gray shirt.
With everybody involved in the editing process, do you feel like you're given the artistic freedom to communicate your vision without it being skewed?
I do. I know that's a concern for a lot of writers who want to be published, is that the book won't be yours. And I can only speak to my publisher, but they have been fantastic. They completely understood the vision of the book, and that's part of what choosing a publisher was about. Not that the other editor wouldn't have understood that vision, but I felt like there was a connection with the publisher that I chose, with the characters and the story, and they just understood what it was supposed to be. And every move that they've made, every stroke of their pens on that novel has been to make it stronger. Their areas of expertise are very different from mine, and together I feel like we've made it the strongest book it could be. Whereas if I had held back because I was afraid of losing control over it, I think it wouldn't have been as strong of a book, because there were many things I would have missed without them.
How jealous is your dad that he didn't get to publish Livia one?
My dad is basically selling that book door to door, so I think he's all right.
Proud papa. Other questions?
I thought you should know that I saw a website that it's a kids Caldecott kind of thing, and somebody's nominated your book through Kids Caldecott.
Oh, neat.
So that means it, you know, I don't know exactly how that, or not Caldecott, I'm sorry, Newberry. I know better than that. So I just thought you might be interested in that, somebody on their site, and I think it's where the kids all get together and decide where they want to, those are books that they want to send up, and they put suggestions in, and yours is one of those suggestions.
That's huge. That's great. Other questions? Anyone in the room? Yeah.
So when you start on other novels, they're obviously going to be themed differently and things like that. Would you say that every written work should start or be based in like your own realm of experience?
I know that there is a belief that writing should come from what you know, and I know there are also people who write to explore other worlds and explore other places that they've never been. I don't think there's a right way to do it. I know for me it works to write from the places I've been, because that's just what feels authentic and that's what I feel like I can describe. But I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to do it.
You know, some people say that writing, that you should be able to find the author somewhere in the writing. Where are you in this novel?
I'm everywhere in this novel. I wrote from the point of view of a character with autism because clearly I'm involved in a community of people with autism, and I spend a lot of my day with people with autism. But the fact that Livy comes from a small mountain town, the fact that she moves every 5 minutes, the fact that she has a bratty little sister, which was me, a lot of that comes from my own experiences, and I mean, I really am on every page of every novel that I write. I don't know any other way to do it.
When you started your second novel, the one with Untitled so far, I know that your first one kind of started with a mouse. How did you get to your second novel? Where was that idea? How did you lasso it?
And I want to piggyback on that. Just how do you get started? How you know, who was it? Ernest Hemingway said the scariest thing in the world is a blank page. Right. So how did you get past the blank page?
Okay. Well, the idea for the second novel, the original idea was that I wanted to write from the point of view of a family living in the campground. Didn't know why, and I didn't know why they were there, who they were, or anything about them. I also separately wanted to write about a child from a family who followed a fairly non-stream pagan religion. And those two ideas were not connected anyway, and they were just ideas that I hadn't written a single scene or anything. They were just floating around. When I sold Livy, it was a 2-book deal, and so of course the publisher wanted to know what other books I had in the works, and that was what I had in the back of my mind, so that's what I told them. And I was fairly intimidated by the idea of sitting down to write something that had already sold, and I hadn't read it yet or written it yet. I was pretty petrified to start, so I think I had a lot more trouble the second time with the blank page than I did the first, because there was no pressure with Livy except from my kids. There was no contract in place for Livy, and there was with the second book, which I found to be startling at first. But the way that I first get words on paper is I free write every morning, and a lot of times when I free write, it goes into fiction, and then I let it and go with it and see where it goes, and that's usually the first page of something, and it usually has 2 or 3 paragraphs at the top of free writing that's going to get cut, but it ends up somewhere. I'll just write back into a memory that I have, in this case the campground, and just write that scene until it goes somewhere that I never went in real life, and it becomes fiction, and I go from there.